Hello everybody, this is Sebastian Keynes, and I am here with another DragonHeir Silent Gods presentation. In this video, I will be covering some of the major points that I saw outlined in the letter from the developers that they released here about 5 days ago, in between Season 0 and Season 1. Season 0 was their closed beta 2, and they will officially global launch on September 19. I will be going over some of the points of contention that most beta players brought up to the developers, see if they address some of them, and possibly bring up some ideas as to what they can do to bring back the players that they lost during the closed beta, or keep the ones that they managed to attract in the global launch. As I told you, I'll be covering some of the major points from the letter from the developers that they released. If you're interested in reading the whole letter, feel free to go to their Discord. You can see it under their game announcement thread, and then you can read every point by point that they made in the letter. DragonHeir Silent Gods was a game that I was really looking forward towards the release, and I was glad that I got into the beta too, to try it out and see what it actually entailed. And essentially, it is an RPG dark fantasy style game. You're going to have the opportunity to collect champions. You're not, unless you decide to spend, you're not going to be able to level up every single champion up between seasons, but you are going to find some utility for some of them, depending on your roster. And also, one of the things that attracted me is that it was going to offer an open world exploration, where you could go around the world and encounter battles, tasks, challenges, and included within were unlocking the dungeons, the guild boss, any of the things that you need to do to level up your characters. And in addition to that, they had something called the Feywild, which is their version of Doom Tower or Void Tower that you've seen from other gacha games. They also included dragons, where you could fight them every week for the opportunity to get skill scrolls. And they also had the after the first part of the world was open, once you completed that, they opened up the Sanguine Snowfield, where you actually then came back in here. You had an opportunity to then do more farming for resources that then you're going to be able to turn at the end of the season for Healite dice or scrolls, anything that you may want to carry over towards the next season. And of course, then they had their final dragon, which they just labeled as an end game. And in this challenge, it was essentially the whole server had to tackle it and try to bring it down. So not only did it keep track of the score that you pumped into it, but it also kept track of everybody else's score. And then you saw the meter throughout the weeks that this was open go from 0 to 100. And once we did 100% damage, then I logged into the game, and this was done. As it is with any new game, when the open world opened, and we had an opportunity to do the first section here, and then right away we were able to go to Nytheria and open up all the dungeons that we needed to open up, and any type of challenges, so we could acquire some Healite dice, which was very minimal, and any purple dice to try to summon rares and epics that we would need to further progress in the game, and do any type of battles that we needed to do to further open up the field. Some of the players managed to do this within a week or two, depending on their spending level and how fast they were going. Eventually, everybody got to a point where they finished their journal. So they completed all the 20 trials that were listed in the journal, and then it just became like a dead period, right? And so all you really had to do at times was just log in, hit the guild boss, and then maybe do a couple commissions, use your stamina, and then if you wanted to, you could refresh your stamina with gems, but it only limited you to 5 times to do it. And the other thing is, if the Sparkle tournaments were open, which is essentially like a guild versus guild version, then you had the opportunity to get into those fights, complete them for the day, and then you would log off. So essentially what it became for some of us, it was just a side game. Essentially, yes, you would have to farm some dungeons because they put up rewards for you to collect, so you could get some of those resources, get better artifacts, so then you can jump a little bit more into the end game. And then once this opened up, it essentially became a task where you had to have as many compositions as you can to try to deal damage to the dragon and actually complete some of the boss battles that you would run across in this map, because once you used one hero, it then locked it out for the day. You still had 4 or 5 battles that you could do. And then in the dragon, in the end-game dragon, as you can see here, you had the opportunity to get 6 challenges in, which really all really mattered as to how many characters you actually leveled in between the dead periods, right? So I think that in that part, the communication was lacking. They didn't really emphasize to us what it was that we were going to see in the end game. And some people that just, formed the initial compositions that they had to try to tackle city trials and Feywild and some of the dungeons. And then once that was done, or they got bored, they went in and they started looking at other games. Points that they had released in their letter. Number 1, that I picked up, is that they were talking about the resources that you can get from exploring the world. I can tell you that the resources were minimal, right? You did not get an opportunity to collect as many Heal dice, even though they said that you would be able to collect as many as possible to possibly do enough summons for you to collect 5 legendaries at the beginning of the season. If you were just interested in doing that and just using the energy that the game gave you, sure, but I don't think that you would be able to advance as fast as possible or be strong enough at the end of the season to really get the end game content accomplished, unless you were really lucky on your rolls and the type of artifacts that you were getting from the dungeons. The other aspect of it was that components like the bread, the stamina, and multi-battles were not easily accessible in the game, and they were actually paywalled at times. And I think that if they really do want to open up that part and give us a little bit more resources in global launch, that should be one component where we can come in every day, go around the world, go around and explore it, and then try to get on top of the ores and anything like that. So you see like this little hands here. If you clicked on it, then it would give you some type of resource here. If you would give us an opportunity then to open actually this up for us to re-explore it, not only that, but find energy, find Healite dice, something that will make us want to do it, something that will make us intrigued about playing the game, besides just doing dungeon runs or doing XP potion farming that we were doing during the dead period. In addition to trying to add more resources to the battlefield and to the world for us to find and explore, they also said that they were going to add more content to it. I'll be interested to see how much more content they're actually going to add it. And also, one of the things that wasn't really clear is how gated trying to progress through the content is going to be, because that is one of the pitfalls that we found in the closed beta 2 season, that everything was gated. It wouldn't allow you to progress too much faster from where you were, and you always had to wait for daily reset for some type of task to unlock, where then you could advance further in the world exploration and try to unlock the next stage of the world in which you wanted to explore. The other tidbit that I saw in regards to heroes is that they said that they were going to add more epics and rares to the gallery here, that will hopefully expand some of these affinities a little bit more, which is going to become integral because the pairings have also changed. So in the closed beta 2, we had the opportunity for the fire affinity to match with the Radiance. So if you had 5 of these heroes in the battle together, you would get extra bonus, extra damage bonus, and resistance and accuracy. It's essentially a stat boost that it would give you for having teamed them up in a pair of 5. The pairings in 5, if you got 3 at least, then you could get some stat boost, but you wouldn't get the damage, the extra damage boost. So for the closed beta 2, they decided to add the Radiance with the fire. They matched up the poison with the frost and necrosis with lightning. From the testing that I did and the compositions that I put together, and of course along with what I had, and trying to make a diverse enough team that would allow to sustain and do damage, the strongest pairing this time around was poison with frost, and then I would say the second one was fire with radiance, but really I think fire carried that group. And then of course the last one were lightning and necrosis. The global launch, they are changing this. What they decided to do is that they were going to match the 2 strong, what I feel are the 2 stronger affinities in the game right now, given the current roster. Fire and poison are going to be 1. Lightning was matched with radiance. I think that this probably is going to be the weakest pairing here if they don't add competent tanks and possibly add 1 more healer here. So that'll be interesting. The rally mechanic was really hard to activate in some of these heroes. And then finally, they're going to match necrosis with frost. Frost is a very strong affinity. They have very good tanks. Barrage is one of the best epics in the game, and they have very good damage dealers such as Gordrus, and at one point it was Pargu, but not anymore. He does still do some damage. And then you had epics like Dark Curse, where he could activate the frost, which was necessary for legendaries like Oster to do his damage. So I'm looking forward to see what epics and rares to release to make this affinity stronger. But if I am going into season 1 with the roster that I currently have, I'm certainly shooting to form my first 5 to be from the fire and poison affinity. In regards to the world and farming, they say that they're going to be adding more experience dungeons. I don't know exactly what they have planned for that, but they're going to give us more opportunities for us to get experience in the game. I think that trying to level characters from 90 to 100 was really taxing, and that is one of the suggestions that I made. That's possibly lower the requirements needed to get them fully leveled, especially from 90 to 100, because it did require a lot of runs and it required a lot of stamina to be able to accomplish that. They also said that they were going to add more artifacts to for us to be able to play around with. Some of us were able to buy as many of the rares, and I would say that if players were actively playing, they probably were able to get most of the epic ones. The legendaries were unique. You really needed dupes of your legendaries to come, so you sold the dupes and then you came and bought your desired weapon. Global launch, they said that they were going to add more artifacts for us to be able to equip into our champions, and also be able to acquire additional, since some of us in the closed beta 2 already have acquired most of these. If you didn't know, given that we're going into the transition of the seasons, come and look in game, then you can look as to you can see what it is that you're keeping. You're gonna be able to keep your worm arrow, your dragon crystals, your summoning dice, any scrolls that you may have extras, you are going to be able to keep that. If you have the cards, the monthly cards, you purchase those, you're going to be able to carry them over to season 1. You're going to be able to keep all your pure sand cures, that you're going to convert that from the Echo of Clepsydra that you got from doing the vortex battles and the end game stuff, that you were able to collect all of this. You're going to be partially given some essence of creation, so all your artifacts will be restored back to level 1, and you're not going to get everything back, so you can get them back to 20 if that's what you did. You're just going to get partial restoration of that. Somehow they managed to keep distinct the essence that you acquire from regular gameplay versus the ones that you may have paid for by summoning, and there will be different proportions returned to you based on how you acquire that. Like I said, all artifacts will be reduced back to level 0, and so are your heroes. They're all going to go back to level 1. I want to further suggest that you have, I do hope that they have better summoning events than the ones that they had for the closed beta 2. The closed beta 2 summoning events were very, very pay to win. It's almost like they got into a conference room, they called Plarium, and they said, hey guys, hold our beer. For example, one of them was, if you do 80 summons, you get a legendary. You know how hard it was, or I don't even think it was possible, to get 80 Healer dice as a free-to-play player in that banner for as long as it was up. You only had a couple of weeks at the beginning to do that. You had other summoning events where if you wanted a particular legendary, you would then select it among 2 others, and then you had to pull 4 legendaries before that 5th one being possibly the one that you wanted. So it was not even guaranteed for you to get the one that you wanted. It was a possibility. So yes, so I think in that regard, when it came to summoning events, this game did a poor job in launching them, and I do really hope that they improve on that to make it a little bit more exciting for people to summon. And even if it is at 3% with a pity of 35, it may behoove you to just make it maybe one weekend where you in advance tell people and you put it in your calendar and say, we're going to have a 2x, because people will save up for that and they will go nuts with their Healer Light dice and acquire as many as they can for that special event. Those of you possibly going to be playing in the global launch, or if you create a new account there, what they decided to do for the closed beta test is they rolled out a series of servers, and they based on the timing as to when you started playing in season 0, you were then slotted into the servers. So then those servers had different timings as to where they were in the season. So in the server that I was in, which was one of the first ones, we ended our season a lot earlier than the ones that started later, like 2 or 3 weeks later. They're possibly just getting to the end of their own and beating and trying to beat the dragon. Well, one of the things that was really unfortunate, and do keep this in mind, that if you want to play with your friends, try to get together with your friends and start at the same time so you're in the same server. Because what they did for closed beta 2 is that they did not allow for those servers to integrate and try to get into the same guilds. So you are essentially stuck in that server, and you're only going to be able to get into alliances that are within that server. For the people that were in closed beta 2, we're all going to be put together apparently in one pot, and we're going to be integrated. We're going to be able to shuffle guilds and try to replace those that quit, or reestablish some of the guilds that we had within this closed beta 2 season. And lastly, the last thing that I want to talk about is in regards to Grand Arena, which essentially they had to split up into 2. They had the Grand Gladiator Arena and they had the Champion Arena. The Champion Arena was their version of live PvP, which essentially was a disaster, because all you really did was pick 2 champions at the beginning. There was no ban phase. You saw your opponent's first 2 selections, and then you picked 3 based on what you had. Then it was just about you placing the deployment how you wanted it, and you just click go and you let the eye do it. So there was really no mechanic for you to even control the battle at all. When it came to the Grand Gladiator Arena, essentially what happened was that people figured out that the meta at the upper tiers of Arena was essentially putting up 3 tanks and 2 healers, because everybody figured out that the AI on the offensive side, regardless of what deployment is a little slow. What do I mean by that? Is if you see the positioning here, what you really wanted to do was put your healers in the back, put your main damage dealer in the back, put them as far away from your tank or tanks as possible, and then on your side you would just then watch your damage dealers trying to get the tanks down, because you can't control the battle. So there's my positioning. I'm just going to click go. From here on, I can't do anything. I cannot tell the AI what to target. I am at the mercy of them doing enough damage to the tank so then they can start focusing on damage dealers in the back and the healers in the back. It was boring. This system needs to change. This is not PvP. It's boring. It was just lackluster content. Why did I do it? Just to collect some tickets so then I can get some healer light dice or get the essence that I needed to level my artifact. That was essentially what I did. And I tried to stay as low as I could in the tier system. The rewards to try to climb up, they're non-existent. They don't mean anything. These are not good rewards. There's no incentive for you to do PvP in this game. The new feature they're going to add, which I think is probably one of the laziest and most boring modes of any gacha gaming, is going to be TTA. For those of you that know gacha gaming, you know what TTA means, and you are probably already rolling your eyes, dreading at the fact that you might have to do it. It is Tag Team Arena. So what they said is that you are going to need 15 separate heroes for you to be able to participate in the game mode. But they did simplify it for you early on. What they have said is that they are going to allow you, when you're putting your comp together, that the level of your highest character, so for example, let's say you have a character that is level 100, all your other ones, regardless of whatever rank or level they are, they will automatically be brought to that level. So those characters will be level 100. The only thing that you're going to have to make sure on is that you have the gear to make those heroes competent. So what I'm really hoping is that the Tag Team Arena aspect of this is not a repeat of the Grand Glitter Arena, where you kick challenge and you see one battle, the second battle, and then the third battle. Nobody's going to want to do that. Nobody's going to want to spend the time to do that. Unless they, really love it, PvP in this game for some reason. And trust me, it was not worth doing it at all, unless you wanted some tickets to purchase anything in the shop for it. So I do hope that they fix this aspect of it. This aspect of it needs a lot of work. When you see your opponent, you have to kind of guess as to which the characters are. I think that once you select the opponent, you should get an interface to show you the avatars of the heroes that you're going to go up against and give you some kind of an idea of how strong the team is. Some type of definition of, power or something like that. But right now, when you were going up against somebody and you saw certain characters, you kind of knew what you were going up against, but you did not have any idea of what the level was. So you were just clicking challenge, hoping that you were stronger than them or faster than them, and just watch the battle unfold. So those are some of the major points that I picked up from the letter from the developers. If you have any type of comments, suggestions, ideas of what you would like to see in the global launch, please leave those in the comments below and I will pass them on, because I think that they need to hear exactly what would bring you back, or what would you even get you to play in the global launch if you did try the beta, the season 0, beta 2. So those are my thoughts of the game as it stands after season 0, going into global launch, which again will happen September 19. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Hit like and subscribe for future DragonHeir Silent God content. I would like to thank you for tuning in and watching, and I will see you on another video.